All right, we're going to get up and going here, and we'll get started here, and hopefully we've got some other people that are attempting to get on and having some problems with on their side. So it looks like we've got everybody at least attempting to get on here. So I'm going to get this going. This is kind of a new format, and is all new things go where there's always going to be probably some technical difficulties here, but we're going to get going on this. We are recording it. There's some people that keep texting me saying that they aren't able to get on this time, so we've got it recording, and we'll be sending it out to them as well. So I wanted to thank everybody for coming. This webinar, we're going to be doing these webinars one a month for the next few months. We're just trying this new format out. Instead of having the meetings here at the Innovation Center, we are going to be we're attempting this format. We've had a lot of people say it'd be really nice to do more of a webinar. So we are going to attempt this and see how it goes. So today's webinar is on maximizing employee performance, and I'm going to go through and kind of talk about some basic things that I've got a list of 25 things that maximize employee performance. I'll be going through that and talking, and then I'll be handing it over to Dave Sanford with Success in Motion, and he'll be talking about some goal setting and success mapping, and then I'll end with a format on employee reviews. So if everybody could, looks like we've got a few other people have joined. If you could just mute yourself, or I can mute everybody here. Can everybody hear me? Okay. And if you have a question, if you don't have a microphone, there's a chat box on the pop-up screen from GoToMeeting. If you want to, type a chat in there, and we'll be able to answer it there if you don't have a microphone. So I'll get going into my presentation, and then we'll hand it over to Dave. So what are some things that you can do to maximize your employee performance? So I've put together a list of 25 ways, and there is no specific order to these, but the first one that I put was hire slow and fire fast. This is one of the, if you manage a lot of people, this is one of the key things. In order to grow a successful company, you have to follow this basic philosophy, and hire slow, fire fast. It is crucial that you do that. The next one is humanize the work environment. People work harder and more efficiently in an employee-friendly work environment, one in which management recognizes and respects the need to treat each other as an individual. And a couple things that I wanted to add to this is, here's some basic things that I'm going to add to this. Comfortable working conditions. Salaries and benefits are comparable to or better than any other companies offer. Open communication between management and employees, and advancement opportunities. And this is if you humanize the work environment, people are going to enjoy coming to work, and they'll enjoy working for your company. The third one, set a proper example. If there's something that you're expecting them to do that you're not willing to do, they will not have any respect for you. So the old adage of do what I say, not what I do, cannot work if you want to have your employees respect you. And the biggest example I can use of that is I used to have a business that I was an agent for Verizon Wireless, and I had about 20 stores spread throughout 5 different states. But as I went and I opened up each one of those new stores, one of the things that I specifically made sure that I did was 2 of the worst things that I would ask employees to do. Number 1, scrub toilets. I would always scrub the toilets, and they saw me making sure that the toilets were scrubbed. And the second thing is that that we had this goofy cell phone suit that in most of our stores, that when things were slow in the store, that they had to go out and wear the cell phone suit. And I made sure that every single grand opening that I had, I was the first guy out in the cell phone suit doing that. And that always set the proper example. Number 4, use strategic staffing. There's a fine line between having too much work and not enough. Most people tend to use their time more efficiently when they're busy and when they have idle time on their hands. So before you, when you have a position open in your company, make sure that you can't utilize the current employees that you have before you go out and spend more money to hire another person. Number 5, spell out the objectives. One of the most common and frequently overlooked reasons behind subpar performance is poor direction. When you issue an assignment, spell out as many details as you can. Keep in mind that many of the employees are embarrassed to ask questions out of fear or appearing incompetent. The 6th thing, be consistent. This is a crucial thing as being a manager. And make sure that all the rules and regulations that apply to one person apply to everybody throughout the organization. Number 7, hire smart. This is something that you'll see multiple times throughout this. You've got to hire smart and be. Sometimes you need to utilize agencies, and this is a crucial thing to make sure you're hiring smart. The next thing here, encourage employee input and risk-taking. Make sure you have an open door policy with your employees. And remember to reward risk-taking as well as results. It's a key thing that you give your employees enough latitude to achieve their full potential. Number 9, publicize company goals. They should be posted everywhere throughout your building, in your newsletters, on your website, on the employee break rooms, everything like that. You need to make sure that you're publicizing all of your company goals. Next one, number 10, develop career paths. This is why people want to come to work for you, is to further their experience, and you've got to make sure that you're working with them on their career paths. Number 11, promote from within. If you have it all possible, this is the best way to save company morale, is to promote from within. It's a key thing that if you don't at least give people the opportunity, sometimes you have to hire outside, but give the people within, and then be prepared to explain, why, you went outside. Number 12, show a personal interest in the people who work for you. Get to know them. Get to know them on a personal basis, and so you can talk about their family, their activities, their hobbies, and they will really become vested with you. The more well you get to know them, the more they will respect you. Reward and recognize staff. This doesn't always mean that you have to give them, bonuses and pay and spiffs and things like that. But sometimes just recognizing them in a staff meeting, or giving them a plaque that they're employee of the month or employee of the year, whatever it is, or maybe it's a $5 McDonald's gift card. You never know how far a $5 gift card can go. Number 14, be liberal with praise. Just make sure that you praise them, especially in front of their peers. Number 15, delegate smartly. This is a key thing here, and I wanted to read this one thing. It's one thing to issue an assignment and another to allow a person true responsibility for its successful execution. When you delegate, there is always some risk that an employee won't do the assignment exactly the way you want, or worse, may delegate all the decisions back to you. But unless you're willing to take the risk, you will never maximize employee productivity. This is something, if you're going to grow your company, you have to learn to delegate. It's a key thing, and it holds a lot of managers back. Next thing, put stretch into assignments. Really stretch your people. People love to be challenged and stretched. Number 17, hold meetings only when necessary. I remember when I was growing my company that we were having meetings left and right, and we got to the point where we really started combining meetings and making sure so that people weren't in meetings from sun up until sundown. Number 18, remember that time is money. Effective time management is essential to making peak levels of productivity. You've got to, if you can focus on working smarter instead of harder is the key thing here. Number 19, hold off-site events. I can tell you that one of the biggest successful thing for me was to do specific manager retreats and team building, float the river, go bowling. Some of these things are key things to getting your staff to really cooperate. Number 20, take note of poor performers. Remember this, I'll simplify it by saying a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Make sure that you understand that and follow that. 21, criticize constructively. When employees are doing a substandard job, let them know, but do it with tact. You have to make sure you do it with tact, or else you can hurt feelings. But pulling them in and encourage them that they're not meeting the standards that you have is crucial to do. Number 22, admit your mistakes. This is one of the toughest things, especially for a manager to do. But when you make a mistake, own it, and you'll become much more successful. Review your frontline leadership. This is a crucial thing. If you're going to grow your company, you got to make sure that you have the right captain at the helm, and to make sure that they can take over the responsibilities that you have. Number 24, bring your mission and values. This is a crucial thing. If you, I run my business and my life off of having goals set and following the mission and the values of the company, and you've got to make sure that your whole team does that. Number 25 here is to make sure that you have implemented a formal review process. And so I'm going to hand the screen over to Mr. Dave Sanford with Success in Motion, and then after he finishes his, I'll go through and give you some specific examples of performance reviews when we're done. Dave, you there?
I am.
All right, it's all yours. I think we can see your screen now.
Okay. I am just seeing black right now, but I'm not sure what you're seeing. But that was a great example of 24 things, and you're going to get to the 25th, but 24 things that okay, here we go. Really make a huge difference. Okay, I gotta get my screen up here. There we go. Can you see it now?
Yes, I think we can. Yes.
Okay, I'll get my presentation here. Okay, so I'm David Sanford with Success in Motion, and my wife took that picture. I just wanted you to know that. So with goal setting, with trying to accomplish anything in our lives, goal setting is really a critical piece to becoming a success. But if you're like me, goals were something that I got disillusioned about, that I had many experiences in my life where I set goals and they just seemed like the wrong goal. They were too hard. I was having a hard time reaching them, and so I'd start to reevaluate my goals. I'd start to look at them from a different perspective and think, maybe that's not what I really wanted. Maybe that's not even what God wanted for me, I would even think sometimes. And I would back away from the goal, or change the goal, or just forget it altogether. And so I started to get a little sour on goals, and about the only time I would set a goal was when I got around to the first of the year. Everybody else is setting goals. They call them New Year's resolutions, and so why not? You know, jump on the bandwagon. And so I would set a New Year's resolution, and by January 7th, it was out the window. Next time I would look at it again was December 24th. So, so goals are really a key piece in us achieving our success, and I'll show you why as I go through this presentation. But goals are really about our focus. So I want you to think about for just a second, where we look is where we end up going. If you've ever been snowmobiling, for example, you know that where you look on that snowmobile is where it goes. So if you're looking at that tree you're trying to avoid, you end up running right into it. Well, we can use that to our advantage. If our focus and our attention is on our goals, we will be steering towards our goals. But most of the time, our mind tends to focus on what's wrong, all the things in our life that could go wrong or that we're afraid of or that we want to avoid, instead of the things that we want to have. And I'll get into a piece of why that psychology is and how we can change it. So I'm going to talk about goal setting being the key and how to be a virtuoso or have virtuosity and mastery in your goal setting and your achievement. Now, most of us, when we hear about goals, and maybe you thought this when you looked at this webinar, you thought, goals again? Man, I've heard this. It's been like beating a dead horse. You know, they just keep talking about goals and how to set SMART goals. Or I really liked Brendan Burchard did a little blog post on his website about dumb goals. He's like, I'm sick of SMART goals. Let's do dumb goals. And he used the analogy of dumb goals being dream-oriented and so on and so forth, in creating a dumb goal. But goals have really been rehashed for a long time. But I want to talk about some steps and some tools that you can utilize that would help you become a virtuoso, or somebody that does common things uncommonly well. So if we can become a goal setter that achieves their goals in a crazy fast amount of time, really that being what we really want, that we could set a goal and we would achieve that goal twice as fast or 3 times as fast as we thought even possible. And by using this method that I have put together, you can do that. You can accomplish virtuosity in your goals or mastery. So we might be covering a few things that you've heard in the past, but I invite you to be open and look for the ways that you could apply them in more of a masterful way in your life. So where people want to go is sometimes not very clear. And a goal map is about finding where you are and where you want to go. So I heard a quote one time, and I can't remember it exactly, so I totally paraphrase it here. In my own words, we never will reach the top of the mountain by wandering. And when I'd heard this quote, it was about reaching the top of Mount Everest. If you wanted to reach the top of Mount Everest, you would never get there by wandering around and suddenly find yourself at the top of Mount Everest. There's too many forces that pull you down the mountain instead of up the mountain. So I want you to think about for just a second what your mountain is. What do you want to climb? Where do you want to go to achieve? And so if you think about your mountain, it takes energy, effort, and focus to move to the top of that mountain. And so we have to work a plan, and we have to be consistent in moving towards our goal. It's not an uncommon thing you're doing in getting there. Most of the work is walking. And all of us learned how to walk, right? We all, when we were young, learned how to walk and how to get to where we wanted to go. But it was the direction that we've had a hard time dialing in. So think about your mountain. If you have a scratch piece of paper in front of you, I want you to write down what your mountain is. What is your mountain? Where do you want to go? Okay. Now, I couldn't get these to fit in my presentation because of some reason, so I'm going to try and go out of my presentation and show you a little different file here real quick. If it comes up, let's see. Okay, here we go. So you should be seeing here what's called the success cycle. And this is what impacts our goals. This is what, now that you have your mountain on there, I want you to consider that going up the mountain is the hard part. Going down the mountain is the easy part. So when we tend to get to those inclines on the mountain, it tends to cause us to have a desire to turn and go the other direction. And this is the reason why, this success cycle. So because this is the success cycle, it's also the failure cycle. And I'll show you why. Here at the top, we have a T in that blue box. That T stands for our thoughts. What thoughts do we have that are around our goal? If our thoughts are maybe something like, it's going to be too hard, or I've never seen anybody ever accomplish this, or I don't know how to get there, or I'm not sure if it's even possible for me to do this. Or we might even have some past history or a story of, hey, I tried that once and I didn't get there then. What makes me think I can do it now? So if you think, man, this guy's in my head, how does he do this? It's because I'm in my own head and I have the exact same things going on. And I imagine, Brian, you could probably attest to the same thing.
Amen.
So with that being the case, if our thoughts are directed at what it is we want to achieve and looking for solutions, because what is wrong is always available, but so is what's right. And so if our focus can shift on what is going right and how to solve the problems that are coming to us, that it's just a matter of problems and solutions, we can completely change the way we feel about our goal and moving towards it. And that draw down the mountain lessens with that. So thoughts generate emotions. Over to the right, you have that E in the green box. Those emotions are what we feel. And the way our human body works is our body wants to feel good. It wants to find pleasure, and it wants to avoid pain. And that's what it does. And so if our thoughts are bringing emotional pain, and we're thinking about our goals and we're having emotional pain, it will try to avoid those at all costs. And it will try to run the other direction. And that's where the A comes in, the red box. The A is our actions. So our thoughts generate emotions, and our emotions generate actions. And so when we generate a negative thought, it generates a negative emotion, which gives us a negative action. If we're trying to achieve our goals and we're finding ourselves in negative action on a regular basis, we're not going to reach our goal. We're busy wandering. And so that leads to the R, which is the gold star here. The R is our results. We're looking to get positive results. We're looking to get transformation, change, becoming better, creating better relationships, improving our physical bodies, being able to create better relationships with money or time or other resources that we have, hiring and keeping quality employees in our company. All of these things are the results we're looking for. This cycle is the key to getting new results. So ask me the question, Dave, is it really that simple that we could change our thoughts and we could get completely new results? The answer is yes. We can completely change the results we get if we're willing to study and change the thoughts we have about the goals we're setting. Okay? So what we focus on is what we feel. And it's by what we feel that fuels our actions. For things to change, my actions must change. For things to get better, my actions must get better. So, and we can apply that to anything in there. Our thoughts must get better, okay, for things to change. Our emotions must get better as well. And we have the power over those thoughts. So, let's switch back here. This is my very first webinar, if you can't tell. Okay, so once we have our goal map in mind, where do we want to go? Let's go to this next one here. Okay, we have to ponder upon where our destination is. What spot do we want to be? And I want you to consider that success leaves clues. Okay, so if somebody else in this world has achieved more than likely what it is you want to do, and they've left clues of how they've done that. And I've listed a few of those people and that I admire. Vince Lombardi, John Wooden, Michael Jordan have achieved greatness, virtuosity in what they've done. And just to give you a small example of John Wooden, he was an 11-time national championship coach at UCLA. 11 in a row. I think he won a total of 16 total, but 11 in a row national championships. That's like, why bother watching the Final Four if you didn't want anybody else but UCLA, you know, for 11 years straight. That's crazy success. Well, one of the things that he did is he focused on the fundamentals. He focused on them so much that they would execute the fundamentals even in the heat of the battle, even in the heat of the game, in the heat of the moment of the last second shot. They had practiced that shot from that spot so many times. One of the things he was famous for is the first day when he would come in, he would teach every one of the boys how to lace up their shoes properly. He had so many kids that were like, "Are you kidding me? I know how to tie my own shoes, coach." And he's like, "You don't know how to tie them right." And he would teach them how to tie their shoes. So I want you to consider, even if you feel like you know what you're doing, there's always something or some way you can improve it. Okay? So success leaves clues, and look for that success. So I'd like you to answer these questions. Who do you want to be like? Who do you admire and look up to, or has what you want, or has achieved the goal you're looking for? I want you to write that down. And if you want, you know, in this webinar, we can go ahead and you can share that in the comments to the side as well. Who is it that you would like to be like? Let me see if I can look at comments here. Is David's voice warbling to anyone else?
It sounds much better now, Dave.
Okay. I've tried to stop warbling, but sometimes I do. Okay. So who do you want to be like? Then the second question is, who do you admire? Who do you look up to? Okay. And you might imagine in your mind, as you consider that question, that there's probably no way you could achieve the same status or level that they are at. But I would venture to tell you that they've been in the same position you are in now. Okay? So where is your destination? Where is it that you want to go? So this question is that mountain, that goal. I want you to write down 3 things, 3 places, 3 levels of achievement that you'd like to have. And you can consider these in any different level, but I want to focus on personal, business, and family or relationships. Okay? So I want you to pick one place you'd like to go in personal, business, and family relationships. So now we have to consider another important aspect. How are you going to get there? We have to create a map. we have to have a map, and we have to know two important things. If you look at a map, it makes no difference if you have a map if you have no idea where you are. Well, if we know where we are on the map, then we can start to consider where is it that we're trying to go. I remember a few years ago I was up at scout camp with a group of boys. We were practicing the orienteering merit badge. And they give you a little map, and they give you a compass, and they say good luck, well, after they give you some training. And I remember watching those boys try to figure out where in the world were they on the map. And it took a period of time trying to figure out, and when they thought they knew where they were and they started to go towards their goal, it ended up in a completely different spot because they had picked that they were in a different spot on the map. So this is a place where we have to get really honest with ourselves, really honest as to where we truly are right now. And when we get honest about this, it really gives us power. And that power is that we know exactly where we are, and we can start to take steps to move towards where we want to be. If we stay in this state of denial in where we are, we end up going in the wrong direction when we take steps because we think we're in a completely different space. So if you look at this map, if you thought you were in South Africa, but in fact you were at the bottom tip of Greenland, would it make a difference? Absolutely. So we have to get honest with actually where we are. So I want you to consider in those goals, those 3 goals you just wrote on your paper, for personal, business, and family or relationships, I want you to now list underneath those, and I'm going to give you just a minute to do this. I want you to list where you really are at right now. And I would encourage you to be brutally honest. I would encourage you to find out where you truly are, where you feel like you are in this regard. So personal, business, and family and relationships. And please feel free to chime in. Apparently you can unmute yourself and we can talk. So feel free to unmute yourself and participate here.
Personal, business, and what was the third one?
Family or relationships. So just a specific goal in one of those, in one for each of those 3 areas. Okay, so now that you have a list, underneath, there may be more, and you'll notice as you start to put your pen to the paper and you start to write, they start to flow. They start to really begin to show up, and you start to really see where you currently are, and the reality shows up. And there might be some really good places where you are, and there might be some areas of improvement. As a matter of fact, that's what I'm counting on, is that there are areas of improvement, because that's what we're doing in our life, is becoming better and better. Because you guys know that practice makes what? Okay,
Perfect.
I know all of you in your head just said perfect, right? But I would venture to say that practice makes progress. That practice helps us move forward. There's not a whole lot of perfection going on in our lives, right? Even the NFL players that practice every day, their tool and their trade, they still drop the pass. They still throw the interception. They still aren't perfect, right? And so we really are about making progress. And so if we can make progress as we practice, then sometimes we'll fail, but sometimes we'll succeed. And the majority of the time, we will succeed. And we'll learn from the failures. So, as you've written down these pieces under those 3 goals that you have, where you currently are, and the goal is where you want to be, you can now see that there's a separation between where you are and where you want to be. And this is where I want to be able to give you a tool to help you close that gap, to be able to close the gap. And I couldn't get this to come up in my presentation either. So let me see if I can find it. Here we go. So, and if, Brian, if they've gotten on this webinar, have we got their emails that I could email this out to them?
Most of them I think we do. So there's some people that have said that they can't, for some reason they're not able to dial in or log on. So I've got 4 or 5 texts of people that are struggling on getting the technology to work, which we always know. But I think that we do.
Okay. I just want to be able to deliver this to you so that you can get it in your hands and utilize it. And so I'm briefly going to walk through it. I hope you can see this clearly here on my screen. But there's 7 keys to changing anything in our life and being able to close that gap. And right here in the beginning is there's some reasons why people don't change, and we've discussed these just a little bit. But number 1 is people are out of practice. So they're not changing because they're out of practice, and they need to raise their standard. They need to look to a higher standard or a higher vision of what it is that they can accomplish. And what we can do is sometimes look at the past of things that we've achieved in the past and get an idea of what our personal best has been, and then be able to go towards a higher personal best. Or they need to turn their shoulds into musts. Sometimes we have a tendency to talk about our goals in the terms of, you know what, I really should lose weight, or I really should increase my income, or ask the boss for a raise, or whatever. Or I really should say I'm sorry and improve my relationships, or forgive and move forward. But we have to turn those shoulds into musts. And when we set goals, it automatically turns those into a must in our mind. We know our brain is a powerful tool. And when we give it a goal to go towards, it starts to try to piece that together of how to accomplish it, how to become the person that can have that goal. So when something's a must, you follow through. So then another really good one is get unreasonable. It's unreasonable people that rule the world. If you think about it, Nelson Mandela, completely unreasonable in his expectation for his country of South Africa. And he completely transformed and changed that country. Mother Teresa, Oprah Winfrey, all great examples of that. They do things others believe are absolutely impossible. So another problem of why people don't change is they rationalize. They tell themselves stories. They use softeners. They say it's not really that bad. I don't have to change. I'll do it tomorrow. You know, that type of thing. And they end up lying to themselves. So we have to get really honest, and that's what you've done here, is you got honest at where you are and where you want to go. So now we're going to develop a strategy, this third one right here. If they have an ineffective strategy, then they're going to fail. I'll give you a prime example of this. You know, in 2006, 2007, if your strategy was to jump in and buy houses and build spec homes and go big on that, that was a flawed strategy at that time, because in 2008 it all fell apart and you would have been left with bunches of homes, right? So we can be using the right principle at the wrong time, and that's an ineffective strategy. So we have to use the right principle, the right time. So we're going to develop a strategy today that works. Let's see. This is how it usually goes, this pressure cooker. There's 7 steps here. First, we'll receive a little bit of pain. We'll feel like, okay, there's some uncomfortableness here. I want to move forward. And so pain equals drive. If we're not comfortable where we are, we'll move. And so we act. But then we'll get some results. You remember my cycle there, thoughts, actions, emotions, actions, results? Well, we'll get some actions going and we'll get some new results. However, once we get a little bit of new results, what is the first thing that we do? We get comfortable again and we back off until the pain becomes great enough again to get us moving forward. So the first step is that we have to be honest, and that's what you've done here. And this paper, you can print this off, and I'd like you to use this to fill in right here in these blanks, to fill in there what your spot is you currently are at. So things that you're using of your story that you're telling yourself about why you can't achieve that goal. When I talked in the beginning, I talked about how sometimes when we set a goal, we start to tell ourselves a story about why we can't achieve that goal. Either we start to hear in our minds, hey, you've never done that, what makes you think you can? I had one of my clients that one of her pieces that had her stuck was a comment from her mom that was always, nothing good ever happens to us. And so as she tried to reach for her levels of success in her life, it would play in her mind, you can't do that because nothing good ever happens to us. And so if you reach your goal, that's something good, and that can't happen. And so she started to have a conflict in her mind, and she started to self-sabotage. And you probably can relate that there's been times in your life that have been like that as well. So then list at least 5 rationalizations that you use of not following through. Then step 2 is make a real decision. This is where you can create some RPMs. I want you to think about the analogy of a motor and how a motor has to create RPMs to move. And the higher the RPMs, the faster that can go. And so we're going to create a results-oriented, purpose-driven, massive action plan. So that's what RPM stands for. So what do you really want? Why do you want this? What's your purpose in getting it? And what do you need to make it happen? Okay? So we're going to create an RPM. So this gives many examples here. So I want you to consider, with those results, what is your purpose in getting that goal? So you wrote 3 goals down on your sheet of paper. Now I want you to write above those goals what your purpose is on getting those goals. I'll just give you about 30 seconds to do this. Okay, now we're going to create an action plan or draw a map. And this is where the success mapping comes in. We're going to draw a map of how we're going to get there. Many of you know that oftentimes we think that the map is from point A to point B. Point B is the goal and point A is where we are, and that straight line between the two, that's the map. But in reality, we know that it goes something like a squiggle. It goes all over the place and around and back and forth and up and down, and then we reach our goal. Okay? And so there's going to be side trips and detours, but we're not going to lose sight of the goal. We're going to keep moving towards that goal. So we're going to choose one result that you want, one of those goals that you're committed to achieving, and list all the things that you could do to achieve it. All the things that you could do to achieve that goal. Don't worry about making this list perfect. I want you to think about this as just a brainstorming session. You're just going to dump it out. What are steps you could take that would take you towards that goal? And I think you'll be surprised at how many answers are already in there. Give you about 30 seconds to do that. So I want you to pick one of these goals. I don't want you to try to, we're not going to flesh out all three right now. Let's just pick one and focus on it. I want you to list 5, 10 things that you could do to achieve that goal. Little things, intermediate things, and big things. So this is also a rule that I follow on my goal setting, is never leave the site of setting a goal without doing something towards its achievement. Okay? So on your list, there's probably some little things and there's also some big things. So as you're setting this goal, I'd like you to commit to doing one of those things. So I have, for example, here, send an email, make a phone call, book a meeting, buy a book, read an article, send a text, that type of thing. Write a letter, say I'm sorry, whatever the case is that you need to do to work towards that goal, pick one of those little ones and do it right away, because that creates momentum, or I like to call it movementum, because when we move, we create momentum. And so pick one of those and commit to do it today, right when we're done. Then number 2, use language that excites you in the things that you want to accomplish. Remember, we were brainstorming, so we're going to fine-tune it. Okay? So you can see here the example of how this is laid out. I'm going to skip over this, and you can use this when you print it out to fine-tune and get what your massive action is, your results, and your purpose. Then 4, as you start to move towards your goal, one of the things that steers you off is that you have some limiting beliefs. You have some programming that's been set out in your mind that has told you that there's certain things you cannot do or achieve. So there's a few examples here. John McCormick was an amazing billionaire that empowered himself to change from a policeman that was saving people's lives for $27 or arresting people into the Millionaire Entrepreneur of the Year. Then he lost it all, and his limiting belief nearly caused him to give up and commit suicide until he found a new empowering belief that he did it once, he could do it again, was his new belief. So remember, success leaves clues. So, I want to help you recognize that as you use these tools and go through these steps, that you'll be able to achieve your goals. So step 4 is set yourself up to win, or step 5 is to set yourself up to win. Gain some certainty, some love and connection, some significance with your goals, and some contribution. Then step 6 is to take some massive action. And then step 7 is to create some pressure. Tell somebody about your goal and use that pressure of the commitment to them about your goal to move yourself forward. So I'll give this to Bryan, and he'll email this out to each one of you, and you can use this. If you have any questions, you can contact me through email or by phone. But I would hope that this would be a tool that would really benefit you in finding where you are and where you want to go. This has really transformed and changed my life, and has helped me to achieve some crazy success that I never thought possible prior. And I'm excited to see where I can go with this. So now we're just about to wrap up here, so I'm going to turn this back to you, Bryan, and let you finish up.
Okay. You want to change it back to me? So I will get the document out. If you would like these, just send me a quick email, and I can get I can possibly send the whole presentation over to you. And let's see here.
Okay, I got it back to you now.
Okay, thank you. Can you see my screen that says Employee Performance Review?
I see a file that's open, a Windows Word file. Now I see the ocean.
Okay.
Now I see.
Now do you see it?
Yes, it's a Word document.
Yes. Okay. Great.
Perfect.
So if you would like to get a copy of these documents, just send me a quick email and I can get those out to you. So I wanted to wrap up the call and talk about some things that in my business I found that this was extremely successful, and that was meeting with my employees on a quarterly basis. Becky, can you turn that down, please? And I've got a couple forms here. This one that it's up on the screen right now is a basic employee review form. The bottom line is that what's most important is that you meet with them individually on a one-to-one basis and that you get to know them. What form you use is really trivial. I've got two forms that I'm going to show you that are key, and I've used both of them. This first one here is a basic employee review, and it's you have a simple rating system, and it's really a simple 3-page format that they fill out portions of it, you fill out, and then you keep it in their employee file. It's okay to give them a copy of it. I'm going to move, put another one up here. Let's see if you can see this. Becky, can you see the Idaho Innovation Center? Dave, can you see the screen right now? Tell me if you can see that. It says employee review history.
Yes, that's what I'm seeing.
Okay,
in Excel.
So this is a 3-page document. You can see down here at the bottom that there's a basic employee history, a job description, and an employee review. This is the one form that I've used the most often, and it's set up really nice. So if I say that I'm reviewing myself here, you can see that it transfers. It's set up with macros to automatically go over that the employee's name goes to each different page. So it's kind of a handy little form. This the employee review gives an opportunity for the employee to rate themselves, and then for you to rate them on a scale of 1 to 5. I found that this form is the best as far as getting true answers. It allows you here at the end to set goals, and it also allows them to talk about 3 weaknesses that they have that, if improved, could improve the influence in the workplace. This is the form that I've used most often, and I can get this out to anybody. It's a great little form that keeps track of when you meet with the employees, what their job descriptions are. I always tell them to fill it out what they think their jobs are, and then I can adjust it before the review. I always have them hand it to me a week before, so that I go through and then type it in and make sure that it's set. This is the best document that I've found in doing reviews. The biggest thing is that you're doing them. When you have new employees, I suggest you do them monthly, and then as they become tenured employees, that you meet with them at least a minimum of 1 per year. I try to do my employees once a quarter. If you want to see continual improvements, you want to meet with them at least once a quarter. And I can get this form out to you as well. Let's see if I can get this back up on the screen here. So our next webinar will be on May 20th. It'll be titled Winning on the Web. I've got two web gurus as far as social media marketing and web design and things like that. That are going to be there to talk about how you can make sure you're winning on the web. Having a presence on the web is where you absolutely have to be. It's by far replaced the old yellow pages, and this is where if you want to grow your business, you have to have a presence on the web, and that will be our discussion on May 20th. It's on Friday, May 20th. There will be two great presenters, just like Dave was today. I appreciate Dave's help today in his expertise in goal setting, and I will get that document out to everybody. We appreciate everyone's participation today. Well, it's been mainly Dave and I that's participated, but we've got many people on, and then I guess some people had some problems getting on the web. I've got like 5 people that have sent me messages saying they couldn't get on, so I will try to get those bugs worked out, but we appreciate everyone and their participation. Our goal was to keep these to an hour, and it looks like I'm 1 minute over. So thanks, everybody, and feel free to email me and get the information if what we've talked about today interests you. Have a great weekend, everybody.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Dave.